Hello and welcome to eBay with Chris. Of course, my name is Chris. In this video, we're going to talk about 3 common fears that people have before they start selling on eBay. And I really want to address this to people that are older like me. Maybe you're in your 50s, 60s, or 70s, and you've thought about selling on eBay before, but you just have these fears that keep popping up, these concerns. And I want to address 3 common ones. Of course, these are not all of the fears that people have, but these are definitely 3 common ones. So let's get into it. And of course, this content is going to apply to anyone that is considering selling on eBay. So let's get going. Okay, so these are the 3 common fears that I want to talk about today. Of course, there are many other fears that we might have before starting a business, especially a eBay selling business. What are some of the fears that you have? Is there anything on this list that you're afraid of, that you're concerned about? Please let me know in the comments below. Maybe I can do a video on that in the future, but these are 3 common ones. So number 1 is receiving negative feedback from buyers. You know, what happens, especially in the beginning, if you get some bad feedback, is that can impact the sales of your store. That's a common fear. You know, how do you address this in customer service? So we're going to definitely talk about some ways to deal with negative feedback from buyers. The second common fear is fraudulent buyers or scammers. That definitely happens. But I think it's blown up bigger than it actually is. Like, that is definitely a way for YouTubers that sell on eBay to get some clickbait. You know, look what happened, I got scammed, that kind of thing. Of course it happens. I believe I've maybe been scammed once, maybe twice, but not for much money. You know, and I'll kind of talk about some ways to prevent being scammed, you know, or if you are scammed, it's not a very big hit. So, you know, financially, right? And the third common fear that people have is losing money on poorly chosen items to sell. And I have that fear today. And I've been selling on eBay for 2 years. I still have that fear. So that's probably a good healthy fear to have, because it keeps you focused on buying things that actually will sell for a profit. But we'll go ahead and dive into some things that you can do to avoid that from happening to you, or at least reduce your risk. It's all about risk management. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so the first fear we're going to talk about is, what if I get negative feedback from buyers? That's a legitimate fear. You are going to get negative feedback. It's going to happen. However, you're going to get a lot more positive feedback than you will get negative feedback. As long as you're running your business in a professional way, you're nice to customers, the negative feedback is actually going to be few and far between. It's going to be the type of customer that you cannot please no matter what you do. You can give them the item for free. You can send them money. You can refund them. You can do everything. And they're still going to leave you negative feedback. So those are the type of people that you can't please. There are a number of things that you can do to avoid or try to prevent negative feedback. First of all, let's look at my feedback score and see how I'm doing so far. And tell me in the comments, what is your feedback score? Is negative feedback something that you deal with as a seller? We want to give some encouragement to people that are considering selling on eBay, to show them that negative feedback is actually more of a rare thing, and it's not really something to be super fearful about. Let's go ahead and look at my feedback. Okay, so here we are on my feedback page, and honestly, I don't look at my feedback very often. It's pretty rare, and so a lot of this is going to be a surprise to me. Let's hope that it's a good surprise, but let me go ahead and zoom in here. Okay, so you can see that I have positive feedback of 99.7%. That's in the last 12 months. Ooh, I'm one of eBay's most reputable sellers. Consistently delivers outstanding customer service. Go, Chris. Okay, let's look at the information here on the rating. So let's look at the last 12 months. So 765 positive, 3 neutral, and 2 negative. Oh, no. Should we look at the negative first? That's kind of how we are as humans. We look at the negative first and we put way too much emphasis on the negative. When we have so many positive things that we're doing, we are overwhelmingly positive and doing things correctly, doing things right. But a lot of times we allow the negative responses or the negative feedback to define us or really crush our spirit. And honestly, just try to ignore it, because those people cannot be pleased no matter what. So let's go ahead and check out some of the negative. First of all, let's go ahead and see what those are all about. Okay, so here's one. A dishonest seller selling pants with obvious defects confirmed the condition of the pants with the seller before shipping, but did not truthfully inform them. Okay, so I did a response. So that's what I will do whenever I get a negative feedback from someone. Typically, they're going to file some kind of complaint or whatever with eBay. They're going to want some kind of refund or whatnot. So I will go ahead and respond not only through the eBay system, but I'll go ahead and put a comment here as well. And let's see what I said. Okay, these are used pants and they did not appear to have defects when I took the pictures. I point out and describe any defects that we see. The buyer is trying to extort a partial refund from me. I offered to give a full refund, including shipping, if the buyer would simply return the item they are not happy with. But the buyer refuses to return the item. So in this case, I do remember this person. We went back and forth. They wanted, me to give them like $10 back or then $8 back. And finally, I was just like, no, forget about it. You're trying to extort money out of me. Go ahead and send them back for a full refund. I offer free return shipping. I'll refund you everything. And they never did it. So, in eBay, of course, they put in a thing with eBay, and eBay actually sided with me. They didn't take any money from me. They decided that the buyer could have returned the item for a full refund, and they did not. So that was how that worked out. Let's go ahead and look at the second one here. They said, not happy with the item, it will be given away. Seller may have known that the elastic was completely coming apart and sold it anyway. However, neither do I remember seeing on the ad that this bra was a wrap strap bra, very frustrating to put on. Better worn as a strapless bra. I'm sure over the price, the seller will do what is right to make this sell a good purchase. I have not contacted the seller and will leave a positive, not negative feedback. Okay, so they still left me a negative feedback. So I do remember this one as well. I went ahead and I said, so sorry about your experience with the purchase of the bra. I did not notice that the elastic was failing when taking pictures. If I did notice the defect, I would not have listed it for sale. Contact me so we can arrange a refund for your purchase. So in the comments, I went ahead and offered a full refund. And I think eventually what I did is I went ahead and just gave them a full refund on the item. I remember in our conversation back and forth, I said, well, I don't wear bras, so I didn't test it out. I was kind of sarcastic, but I was kind of being a little bit, silly about it. So there's really no way for me to know whether or not the elastic on a bra is not working properly. I might maybe stretch it out. Like if I'm picking up a pair of shorts, for example, a pair of elastic waisted, maybe basketball shorts, I do stretch it out, or swim trunks. I do stretch it out. And if I hear the cracking and whatnot in the elastic, then I know it's no good and I throw it away. I didn't know I needed to do that with bras. Maybe that's something I needed to do. Tell me in the comments below. Do I need to stretch them out and make sure the elastic isn't cracking? So anyways, I went ahead and gave this person a full refund. No questions asked. No big deal. This bra probably cost me $1.50. So it's not a big loss, right? And still, of course, the buyer did say that they would leave a positive if I took care of them. Of course, they did not, but I'm not worried about changing it. Big deals. So I got 2 negative feedbacks in the last 12 months. I'm okay with that. It's going to happen. I feel like I was able to respond in a good way here. And when someone is looking at my reviews, if they do, they can see that I made a response here and that I am a proactive seller and I'm trying to help the buyer take care of any issues that they have. So that's how I look at it. Let's go ahead and look at some neutrals. Okay, this first one, it says jacket was frayed a lot on the inside. Hoping this holds up. We'll see. It's a Marmot jacket, windbreaker. And I don't, I'd have to look at this listing here to see if I pointed that out in the pictures or not. You know, sometimes I miss that kind of thing. And so I can't remember if this buyer actually asked me about it. I don't remember that at all. And then here we have another one that says description not accurate. The color is different. And this is a Brooks shirt. Oh, this person did send this back. I remember getting this back. And I looked at it and said, the color's not different. It's the same color, exactly how I described it. So I didn't really understand what this meant. And then finally, here's another one. The hat appears light blue and gray in the picture, but when it arrived, it has 2 tones of gray. Doesn't really pop like I thought it would. And this is a North Face trucker hat. To me, this hat, I remember this hat, to me it looked like it was a light blue and a gray. They describe it as having 2 tones of gray. I think that's subjective. You know, to me, I remember this looking at it and saying, hey, this is kind of a light blue with gray. So again, that's subjective. You know, I don't remember seeing these comments come in. I probably would have responded to them if I did see them, but it's okay. It's only 3 out of almost over 700 feedbacks that I got. So not a big deal. That's how I look at it. Okay, and finally, let's go ahead and look at some positive reviews. Okay. Oh, the item was described and was as described and arrived quickly. Fair price and lightning fast shipping. Description was accurate, depicted all flaws. As described, well packaged. Wow, what a great haul. I will keep my eye on this seller. Highly recommended. Great seller, very fast shipping. Thank you. Looks good, fits great. Great transaction, fast delivery. Thank you. Excellent service. Thanks. Fast shipping, highly recommended. Ooh, here's a long one. Let's read this one. Trust this seller. My experience was perfect and a smooth transaction. My item arrived quickly and was exactly as described in the listing. Definitely an authentic item and in perfect condition too. My item was packed with care and the shipping fees were completely reasonable. I will buy from this seller again. Thank you. Wow, that's pretty nice. And then, of course, a lot of them are kind of similar. Great seller, match description, that kind of stuff. Okay, so there you go. As you can see, a lot of the discrepancies or the negative feedbacks that you will get have to do with whether or not the actual item matches the description and the pictures. So it's really important to have an accurate listing. And that's why the first thing that you want to do is provide detailed listings. So, you know, don't be so nervous about it or so scared about it that you're really going to just worry about catching every single flaw and making sure that your listing is perfect. You know, just do your best. You're human. Sometimes I'll get people and they'll ask me, you know, a potential buyer will ask, hey, you know, are there any other flaws on this item? And my typical response is when we take pictures, we identify any obvious flaws or defects. We'll point to them and describe them in the condition notes as well as in the description. However, we are human. We do make mistakes and we will miss things occasionally. So we do offer a free money-back guarantee. So no questions asked. And so that's my typical response, and people are usually satisfied with that. I especially emphasize that we are human and do make mistakes or miss errors. We can miss flaws, that kind of thing. I'll usually put like a little smiley face emoji after that. But the most important thing is just provide a detailed listing. Take good pictures. Take pictures of any flaws, cracks, damage, tears, holes, anything that the buyer might get and potentially complain about. I'll even do like pilling on clothes is a good one, right? Excessive wear, like if I can see that on a shirt like this where maybe there's rubbing right here from a backpack strap or something like that, I will take a picture of that and describe that. So I try to provide all of the flaws and the details around that. And then in the notes, I'll just put something simple. I'll say pilling around the shoulder area, see pictures, and keep it simple. Or maybe I'll say the end of the sleeves have pilling or tears, or maybe there's a little hole. And I'll say see pictures for that. So I provide a little bit of details, but most of it is within the picture itself. The second thing you want to do to prevent negative feedback from buyers is just communicate promptly and be professional about it. Don't be sarcastic. If they're being a jerk, don't be a jerk back, right? It's as simple as that. Like a lot of times, someone will say, hey, I got this. I love this sweater. It fits good, but it did have a hole in the shoulder. I'll say, oh no. And this is my response. In typing, I'll say, oh no, so sorry about that. We must have missed the hole when we were taking pictures. Do you want to keep the item or would you like to return it? We offer free returns. And so I let them respond. So first of all, I'm saying, oh no, so sorry it happened. We didn't mean for it to happen. So again, I'm apologizing that we made a mistake. We are human. Now, can I fix this? Do you want to keep it? And I can give you a refund for a little bit, or would you like to return it? And if they say, well, I'd like to keep it, I say, well, how about, let's say it was a $20 sweater. I'll say, well, what about a $5 refund? Does that sound good? And if they say yes, then I'll just shoot them a refund right there, and then no big deal. You know, especially if they send me a picture of the hole, right? If there's a sign of the hole and I can see it, oh crap, I missed it. I made a mistake. And that's going to happen because I'm not perfect and I'm not worried about being perfect. Okay. I'm a human being. I'm not worried about trying to find all the flaws on a piece of clothing that I'm only going to sell for $20. And especially since I only paid $1.50 for it. So if I have to refund the whole thing or send them a whole refund and not even get it back, I'm only out $1.50 plus the time it took me to list it, you know, so less than $5 all in, not a big deal. If they say, no, I'd like to return it, I say, great, no problem. Just go ahead and process a return through your eBay app. eBay will issue them a return label. They just have to slap the label on a bag and throw it in the mail, and it's coming back to me. And I'll go ahead and refund them fully when I get it back, shipping and everything, if it's my mistake. If they just don't like the item or it doesn't fit and they want to return it, that's okay as well. But in those cases, I will not give them a refund on shipping. Only if it's my mistake. That's my policy, and that's how I do it, and no one's ever complained about that. And the third thing, I already covered that actually, just offer hassle-free returns. I have a free 30-day return policy. And let me go ahead and pull that up and we can look at that real quick. Okay, here we are on my return policy. Specifically, this is my free 30-day return policy. I have other return policies in my business policies, but this is the only one I've been using for at least a year and a half or so. Let me go ahead and zoom in on this. Okay, so it's a 3. This is the title of it. I put the 2 stars in front of it just so it's quick for my eyes to see that the correct return policy has been selected when I'm creating a listing. The description, it's a 30 days, free return for the buyer. I pay for return shipping, money back refund. International returns are also accepted, but the buyer pays the return shipping. So here's some of the details on here. Let's go ahead and scroll down to this. Domestic returns allowed within 30 days. And you can, when you're creating your return policies, you can change these, right? You can switch this on and select 14, 60, you know, some options. Return shipping is free for the buyer. I pay for the return shipping. eBay will generate a return shipping label for the buyer. Again, this is my choice. This is something that I do that helps me make sure that the buyers are fully happy with what they are buying from me. And the refund method is going to be money back. For international returns, they can also do a return. It's within 30 days. The return shipping is paid for by the buyer in this case. I'm not going to pay for someone from Australia to return it back to me. That is crazy. It's going to cost like $40. So the return shipping is paid for by the buyer, and the refund method is money back. I've actually never received a return from an international buyer. Okay, so that's my return policy. It's hassle-free. It's very simple for the domestic buyer. Anyone in the United States, Alaska, Hawaii, Puerto Rico, you know, they can send things back. I've received returns from all 3 of those locations, and it doesn't cost me too much money. So offer a hassle-free return. Again, this is my business. This is how I approach it. You can do it any way you want, of course, because it's your business. So if you have any other ideas on how to reduce or prevent negative feedback from buyers, please leave them in the comments below. I would love to learn from you, and I know others would as well. Okay, now another common fear that a lot of people have before selling on eBay, and even still while selling on eBay is pretty common, is fraudulent buyers or scams. Now, in my case, I don't sell very expensive stuff. So if I get scammed, I'm not worried about it. Like if someone scams me out of a North Face jacket that maybe they paid $50 or $60 for, but it cost me $3, I'm not really worried about it, you know? However, I have sold some higher end items. Like recently I sold 2 camera lenses, one for almost $500, one for almost $600. In the past, I sold a $1,000 foldable bicycle. So I was definitely worried about scams when I was packing those items up and I was taking pictures of things. I'll get into more details, but I was definitely taking pictures while I was boxing it. I took pictures of like ID numbers on each of the items as I was boxing them to show that I was putting that item in. I should have actually probably done video or gone further, but that was just a little bit of paranoia creeping up because I'm mailing a $500 item to someone and I don't know if they're going to try and scam me out of this or not. Those transactions all went well. There was no issues with them. Of course, that was only 3. But if you are someone that sells a lot of high-end items, I would love to hear your input on how you deal with potential scammers. So here are a couple things to watch out. The first thing to watch out for is red flags. So there are probably a lot of red flags to consider, like things that I'm not even aware about. I would think like one red flag would be a buyer is buying something really expensive and they have no eBay feedback. Now that may not be a big deal. Like for me, when I'm sending out pants and jeans, I don't even look at their feedback. However, when I sold the camera lenses, I did look at their feedback and make sure to try and determine if they were a legitimate person, a legitimate buyer. Did they have positive feedback or did they have a bunch of negative feedback because they had been scamming people, you know? Another red flag might be if someone is requesting a different shipping address than the one that they bought the item with. Now, I always assume positive intent on this. I assume that when I get that message, the buyer realizes, oh crap, I just moved and I forgot to change my address in eBay. And so when they clicked buy and it said to ship it to their old address, they just realized it. Typically, I'll get a notice from the buyer within an hour of them buying an item that says, oh no, I forgot, I just moved. Can you please ship this item to this address? And it's usually their same name and their address. Occasionally, I'll get someone that will say, oh, can you ship this to my nephew or my grandson, and they give a different name and a different address. Now, I'm not concerned about a scam there because they've messaged me within the eBay system. So I have proof that they have requested a different address. And then I will also change the address when I create the shipping label. That's where I do it. I'll create the shipping label, but before I print it, I will change the address in the system. So eBay can see that I changed the address in the system. It gets printed out. I'll take a picture of it, send the picture of the new address to the buyer to show that the label has the new address as they requested it, and then I'll go ahead and ship it out. I've never had a problem with that. What do you do if someone does that? That could be a red flag if someone does request you ship it to a different address. Also, sometimes you might have a buyer pressure you to ship outside of eBay, maybe in some kind of expedited format. They might say, oh, I need to get it within, 2 days. Can you ship it, expedited? Because normally all of my shipping is just ground. It will arrive in like 5 to 7 days, that kind of thing. In that case, I say no. I'm not going to do it. I'm not interested in wasting a bunch of my time trying to figure out how to ship this expedited, trying to figure out how to charge you for that $20 shipping fee when it should only cost $5 to ship it. So I'll say, no, I can't do it. Sorry. They might cancel the buy, and that's okay. I'm not afraid of losing a sale. Right? Sometimes I'll have a buyer from overseas, like they'll say, oh, I want this item. I'm willing to pay your price. However, I live in Sweden and this is going to cost me $40 in shipping. Is there any way you can ship it cheaper? And I'll always respond, no. I use eBay's shipping policies for international shipping. It's the least expensive shipping route that I can find. Sorry. And sometimes they'll still buy it. Sometimes they won't. It's up to them. So again, just say no. If someone is asking you to do something that you're not comfortable with, just say no. And then after that, if you're not comfortable with that buyer, just put them on your cancel list. Cancel that buyer so they can't buy anything from your store ever again. I forgot to mention that when I had those interactions with a couple buyers that gave me the negative feedback, and we went back and forth several times, and they were not exactly easy to deal with. I told myself I do not want to deal with these people ever again, and so I put them on my list. They can't buy anything from my store ever again. Okay, in order to get to this selling preferences list, what you need to do is go up to your name. Like here it says, "Hi, Chris." I go down to account settings, and then I'm going to go ahead and scroll down to selling, and I'm going to go to selling preferences. You see that there? Let me go ahead and zoom in here. Selling preferences, and then it will take you to this page right here. And what you're going to do is scroll down until you get to your buyers, and here they have something called a buyer block list, or a blocked buyer list. And you can go over here and edit that. It looks like I am in the way there. Buyer block list. I'm going to go over here and click edit. And hopefully you're not on my list, but this says block buyers from your listing, and then it tells you how to enter their names. Basically, you put their buyer name in there with a comma, and you can see I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people on my block buyers list. That's for selling 2 years. I've only blocked 8 people. Okay, so there are probably some other red flags that I haven't talked about. I don't know all the red flags you should be watching for. The second thing is make sure you document every step. Like I said, with almost 99.9% of my items, I do not do this. I'm selling clothes that I bought for less than $2 a pop. If someone wants to scam me out of an item that maybe I charge them $20 or $30 for it, so be it, right? I'm not going to stress out over it. I'm just going to put that thing in a package and slap the label on it and ship it out to them as fast as I can. However, when I did sell the $500 camera lens, I did document every single step as I was loading that in there. I took pictures of basically every step. I took pictures of like serial numbers on the lens. I didn't want them to send a false lens back to me, you know, for example, or an old lens, and say that I sent them an old lens. So I was kind of afraid of that. So I made sure I documented the serial number on the lens. I went ahead and bubble wrapped it. I took a picture of it in the bubble wrap. I put it in the box. I took a picture of it in the box, and then I closed the box, and so I took a picture of kind of all the steps there. Probably a better bet would be to have a video going as I was doing it. I just didn't do that. But that's a great way to document every step, especially on an expensive item. And you definitely want to get things like serial numbers, because I've heard horror stories of getting the item returned, but it was an old broken item that got returned. And then you're in the she said, he said dispute with eBay. So good idea to go ahead and document those steps. Tell me, if you sell expensive things, do you document your steps for everything that you sell? How does that look for you? The third thing is to use eBay's protection tools. Now, when you go on YouTube, you're going to hear horror stories about how eBay always sides with the buyer. They never side with the seller. And of course, that's going to happen. But in my experience, eBay's been fairly fair. I think there's only been 1 or 2 disputes maybe where eBay sided with the seller, and I was kind of annoyed with it, and they basically refunded the seller and took the money away from me. Typically what happens is eBay basically sides with both of us. I get to keep my money. eBay will actually send a refund to the buyer, and we're both happy. So that's typically what happens to me, and usually that's the case of a lost package. So the buyer will say, "Hey, I just got notified that the package was delivered to my mailbox. However, it's not there. What can you do about it?" And I'll respond back with, "Oh no, so sorry that happened." And then I'll typically say, and I do say that, I type that out. I say, "Oh no, so sorry that happened." And then I'll typically say, like, sometimes the post office will say it got delivered, but it didn't. It shows up the next day or sometimes 2 days later. That's been my honest experience with other buyers. That's actually happened. And so I'll tell them, why don't you wait a day or two? And if it still doesn't show up, your best bet is to contact your local post office to see if they can find it. Maybe they put it in the wrong mailbox. And maybe that's why it shows up a couple days later. It got put into the wrong mailbox. The person opened up their mailbox and said, hey, this doesn't belong to me. And they put it in the correct mailbox, or they gave it back to the post office to deliver it correctly. So that could be the delay, the reason for a 1 or 2 day delay in getting an item when the post office said it got delivered. And then if they still don't get it, if they still don't get the item and the buyer wants to kind of dispute it, I'll say, go ahead and enter a dispute with eBay, no big deal. And then we just kind of go through that process. And I will walk them through that if they're not sure how that works. I'll say eBay will take, I think it's like 5 business days to kind of look at it. They want to wait to see if the package shows up and that kind of thing. So go ahead and submit it, and I'll submit my information. Usually that's basically providing the tracking number, right? The tracking number, and also the latest information, like it got delivered to their door on this date. I'll also say when I shipped it out and when the post office scanned it at my location, so that I know that they received it and it started the process rolling. That way I can document that it got shipped out on time. All that information is in tracking, so it's not anything you need to keep. It's just if this happens, you can easily look at the tracking information and see all that data. So it's not anything you need to worry about unless someone says they didn't receive your item. Then you can go back and click on it and find out that information. So once again, it's not really a big deal to me, not anything I worry about, but it does happen. But in my experience, eBay has typically been fair for both sides. They've typically, like, if the package was lost, they've reimbursed the buyer, and they have not taken any money from me. So I won because I sold the item. The buyer won because they got reimbursed because they supposedly did not receive it. I don't know if they did or not. I don't know if they scammed eBay. I can't say, but I just assumed the package got lost. So assume good intent and you're going to be happier in life. Tell me, I'm sure you have some stories. Do you have any experience as a seller with eBay's protection tools? What has been your experience? Have they mostly been positive or mostly been negative? Please share in the comments below. I would love to hear. Okay, and a third very common fear is losing money on poorly chosen items to sell. That is a fear that I still have today, and I've been selling for 2 years, so this is not a fear that you have just before you start selling on eBay. This is a fear that everyone has when they're selling on eBay, but it's all about growth. It's all about learning. It's all about watching YouTube channels of people that sell in your niche so you can learn about good things to sell and things to avoid. For example, before I started going to the Goodwill bins and when I was deciding which niche to choose, I was watching a ton of videos from other sellers to learn about brands. So I was looking at clothes. I thought clothes would be a good niche for me because they're easy for storage, easy to ship, and I have plenty of sources around me. So I thought it would be a good one. So I was really watching a ton of YouTube videos of people that were sharing the brands that they're selling because I knew nothing about clothes before I started selling. So I just did a lot of research. And as I started to do sourcing, I would go out there and I would see a Peter Millar shirt and I would go ding, 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 Peter Millar. That's a good shirt. I remember so-and-so talking about that. And then I could do research, so it's just that learning process. As you go, you learn more and more about your niche and you're going to get better and better. However, it's not going to prevent you from making mistakes. I bought a sweater. It was like the 5th item in my SKU system. I think I purchased it in the early January of 2023. I sold that sweater a week ago. So it was in my store for almost 2 years. Crazy. You're going to have that. That's going to happen. I have a lot of inventory that's been in my store for over a year now that I've been selling for 2 years. So I need to flush some stuff out. A lot of that are things that I kind of lessons learned, right? It's probably an opportunity for me to just get rid of it, clean it out of my warehouse. That way I have more space for new inventory. But that's all part of learning. So the first thing you should probably do is just start by selling items that you already own. That's how I started. I didn't really know anything. I had these old G-scale toy trains, electric train sets that I had with my kids, and they had been sitting in boxes for, I don't know, 15 years and not used ever. And so I decided that, well, it's time to go ahead and sell these things. So I broke them out and I took a bunch of pictures, put them on eBay, and they started selling pretty quick for good money. And so it was a great way for me to learn the process, right? It was a great way for me to learn how to take pictures, how to list, how to fill out the description, how to fill out all the item notes, right? And how to ship it when it was time to ship it. I was so scared the first time I was packaging something up to ship it out. It's crazy. Now I just laugh about it, but these are legitimate fears that we all have, and it's okay. So start by selling your own items. There is no risk there, right? You've owned this item for 10 years. It's been sitting in a box in your garage. You haven't used it for 10 years. It's paid for. There's no risk. All right, go ahead and list that on eBay. Get it out of your garage, make some more space, and get some cash. Okay. The second thing you want to do is learn to do research. Start by watching a bunch of YouTube videos of people that sell in the niche that you're selling in. If you want to start selling electronics, watch people that sell electronics. If you want to sell clothes, watch me or other buyers or other sellers on eBay that sell clothes. There's plenty of us out there. Just do your research and then learn how to use the eBay app to do your research when you're in the stores, right? Learn how to look at, okay, how many items are listed? How many have sold in 90 days? What does that tell you about how quickly it's going to sell? What sizes sell faster? Make sure when you're doing that research that you enter in the size of the item that you're looking at, okay? This is a Lands' End cable knit sweater size extra small. Put that in the search bar, find out how many are listed, find out how many sold, and what are the prices going for. Are you buying it for $5 and it's selling for $25? Boom, you got a good item there, as long as the sell-through rate is decent. So learn how to do your research and don't spend too much money, especially when you're starting out. For me, I was so nervous about it, and plus I was super broke. I had almost no cash flow, so I couldn't spend more than $100. My budget was $100 a week. That's all I was willing to spend on inventory. Fortunately, as things started selling, especially some of those train sets, I was able to flip that money pretty quick, and then I wasn't taking any money out of my pocket anymore. That only took me about 2 weeks, and I was basically bankrolling myself. My business was bankrolling itself. I didn't have to take any money out of my own personal budget, and I continued to grow that way. And then I started to take money out of the business to pay myself. So that was a good feeling right there. But don't overinvest, right? If you see what you think is a good deal, but it costs $10, just pass it by. Go to the next garage sale. You'll find something that's going to cost you $1 that you can flip for $10 or $15. Do that. Don't spend $10 to flip it for $30. If you get to a garage sale and all the jeans are $10, $15, say, oh, okay, and just walk away. Go to the garage sale where they're selling their jeans for $2 a pop, their shirts for $1 a pop, or sometimes a quarter, and you're getting 4 for $1 and you're walking away. There's no risk, right? There's no risk at all. So go ahead and do that. Don't overspend when you're buying. You make your money when you buy, not when you sell it. You make your money when you buy it. You buy it cheap, you're going to make money. You buy it expensive, you're at risk of not making money. The third point right here is avoid overinvesting. At the beginning of your business, don't go all in a bunch of inventory. Don't buy a big lot of clothes for $1,000 from someone. Don't do it. It's too risky. Don't buy a big lot of toys from someone for $1,000. Don't do it. Buy onesie twosie, spend a couple dollars here, a couple dollars there. As you grow and become more confident, maybe you can buy a big tote or Gaylord of clothes for $1,000 because you know you're likely to get $5,000 out of that. You can go ahead and make those risky purchases later on in your business. So that's my recommendation to you there as well. Tell me, do you have any recommendations for not losing money when you're choosing items to sell? Please put your comments below. I would love to learn from you. Well, I hope that video was helpful. You know, I'm not an expert in eBay by any means. I've been selling clothes for 2 years now. I've learned a lot. I've overcome my own personal fears on selling on eBay. Also, my personal fears of posting videos on YouTube. So lots of internal growth for me. Don't let your fears stop you from selling on eBay. I just want to encourage you, if you are over 40, 50, 60, 70 years old, this is a great opportunity. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoy it, and I know you can too. If you have some of these fears, it's okay. It's okay to have these fears, but know that you can take some steps, take action to prevent some of these things from happening. And when they do happen, it's not as big a deal as you might think. I've got negative reviews. You saw them. I don't enjoy reading them, right? But it's a fact of doing business. It's going to happen. You're not going to satisfy everyone. So don't let those fears stop you. There's so much more fun, so much more to enjoy, so much more money to make selling on eBay. So don't let the fears stop you from that experience, okay? If you're curious about my store, I do have a link to my store below. You can check that out. Also, if you want to know what kind of equipment I'm using, anything from the lights I use on my photo station to my label printer to my scale, anything like that, I do have links below. You can check that out if you're interested. Those links are for your reference. But the most important thing is that you start selling on eBay. Do it now. Don't let those fears stop you. Thanks again for watching eBay with Chris. Okay, and why don't you go ahead and check out the video I'm going to put right here. It's called 6 Reasons to Start Selling on eBay. Check that out. There's a lot of great reasons to do it, and get started right now. Thanks a lot for watching eBay with Chris. I'll see you on the next video.